Are Christians secret jihadis? I'm sure at this stage you are really surprised and shocked and to a certain extent amused at the title or the question rather. The reason why I'm actually asking this question and I'm going to attempt to answer this question is because in the recent past, what has happened is that I have been approached with Old Testament scriptures whereby violence seems to be the norm and the instruction that God, the biblical God, actually wants to impose and impress upon human affairs. And this is generally a response and a question from my Muslim friends when I raise the issue of Sharia or, the violence in Islam. Is it the same? So the question that I would ask is it the same? Is violence in Islam the same as violence as in the Bible? And therefore, Christians and Muslims are on literally the same plane when it comes to violence and their approach to humanity, etc. So let's quickly, what I want to first do is look at the Bible. And definitely, when you come across Old Testament scriptures, there are some really troubling ones which should make every Christian think a little bit more about this issue. Okay, so first one would be in Exodus chapter 21, verses 15 and 17. Verse 15 says, "And he that smiteth his father," hits his father, "or his mother shall be surely put to death." So a child that actually strikes his father or mother should be killed. Verse 17, "And he that curseth his father or his mother shall surely be put to death." Now this is now language. If you swear and insult your parents, you should be killed. Now another one is in Exodus chapter 22, verse 18 to 20. "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live." So if there's a witch amongst you, kill her. Verse 19, "Whosoever lieth with a beast shall surely be put to death." So if you have any sense of sexual relation with an animal, you should be killed. Verse 20, "He that sacrificeth unto any god, save unto the Lord only, he shall be utterly destroyed." So if worshipping another god is punishable by death according to Exodus chapter 22, and that is, let me get that right, is verse 20. So just by reading these few verses already, what you have is, I'm sure a lot of my Christian brothers and sisters will get a little confused as to what to make of these verses, right? Is it like, is Islam and Christianity literally the same? Are Christians secret jihadis, so to say? So there's another one, Leviticus chapter 21, verses 9. "And the daughter of any priest, if she profane herself by playing the whore, she profaneth her father, she shall be burnt with fire." So if a priest or a pastor's daughter has played the whore, as it says, we should actually burn that child. Now, clearly, what you have over here is really disturbing verses in the Bible, in the Old Testament. Now, there was another experiment that comes to mind is they took a Quran's cover, they wrapped it around the Bible, and they went around the streets asking, I think it was Muslims that conducted this experiment. Sorry, I could be wrong. But anyways, so they were conducting this experiment and they were asking people, they were showing verses like this from the Bible, and they were like, where do you think this is? What book do you think this is? And people were like, I don't remember anyone saying the Bible. Everyone was like, oh, the Quran, the Quran, the Quran. Only to their amazement and shock, it was actually in the Bible. Now, how do we respond to this? Now, let me point out a very simple, very, very simple answer to this. Very, very confusing, supposedly confusing issue. Within the biblical text, what you have is a categorization of three types of laws, right? First one is the moral law, the 10 commandments, thou shalt not, etc., etc. Second one is the ceremonial law, which would be don't eat the pig, don't do this, keep yourself clean, don't wear this kind of fabric, etc., etc. The third one is the civil law. So we've got three kinds of laws in the biblical text, okay? These three kinds of texts. Now, moral law is still very much so applicable to us today. You see that in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, you see that in Galatians chapter 5, etc. The list goes on. And Jesus himself then also provides a teaching on the issue that do not, commit adultery, etc., etc. So clearly the moral law is still very much applicable to us. Ceremonial law. What do you do with ceremonial law? We're still getting to the civil law being that kill this child, do that, etc. The ceremonial law is in effect accomplished in the Lord Jesus Christ. Matthew chapter 5 verse 17, where Jesus himself clearly says, and that is Matthew chapter 5 verse 17, he provides us with a very striking insight that I have not come to abolish the law. I'm not here to destroy it or put a stop to it or whatever the case is, but I am here to accomplish it, fulfill it. To a certain extent, bring it to completion. What it was given for, I have come here to accomplish it. Okay, so in that sense, the entirety of the ceremonial law, and the argument of the Muslims usually is like, oh, you guys eat pigs. Jesus, the Old Testament says don't eat pigs, etc. But that's a part of ceremonial law which is accomplished in the person of Christ. And that's why then you've got where God comes to Peter and says that eat whatever is, what I have called clean, it is clean, like eat everything that in the book of Acts. Furthermore, what you have is in the book of Corinthians, in the book of Galatians, in the book of Hebrews, and to a large extent in the book of Romans, these three major books are an exposition on the fact how on the words of Jesus Christ, that how the ceremonial law, to what extent and how it has been accomplished in the person of Jesus Christ. So that's not even a part of the argument, whether that, oh, we should not wear polyester mixed with certain fabrics, etc. That's really a really, how can I say, a low blow, if you want to call it, a very intellectually and apologetically, a very cheap, ineffective way of actually talking about Christianity or against Christianity. These are really weak arguments. They're arguments that I would roll my eyes over. But with all respect to my Muslim friends, the ceremonial law does apply to us, but it has been accomplished in the person of Christ. So there we go. The last one, what we're wanting to talk about today, is the civil law. The civil law, understand, is applicable to the civilians of a specific group, a people group. And that in specific are the Jewish Israelites. The church, the Christian church, is not, in effect, is not Israel. Some may consider the church the spiritual Israel, but we are not physical Israel. We are not the civilians of that nation. We are a chosen group by God, but we are not of that nation. That nation had civil laws given to it by God, and the reason for them is great theological significance as well. But I'm not going to really go deep into that. However, we as Christians are not, once again, I'm repeating this, I think the third or the fourth time, are not civilians of the nation of Israel. In fact, we are Christians from all over the world, follow all kinds of laws and regulations of all kinds of countries and nationalities. So that law does not apply to us. What you have is like all this whole death issue, and if somebody worships another god, kill him, etc. What you have is, in effect, what you can see is how this is not applicable to us is that when Jesus is on his preaching ministries, he specifically tells us that we as Christians are supposed to pray for those who persecute us, love our enemies, etc., etc. You have so many instructions like this. Even in that moment where the Apostle Peter cuts off the ear of one of the Roman soldiers that actually comes and arrests Jesus, and Jesus is like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Stop this. He who lives by the sword will die by the sword. So the idea and the concept of violence at this stage is far removed from within the Christian context. That there is to be no, even the idea of divorce, like within the civil law, what you had was divorce was permitted. But now that too is not permitted to the Christian church. We are to be married once and live sacrificially for one wife for the rest of our days. And so clearly the civil law does not, let me clarify, does not apply to the Christians today. It is a civil law for a specific civilian group. Okay. Now, is this the same as the Sharia law? Absolutely not. No Muslim, unless he is ignorant or he is a liar, cannot say that the Sharia does not apply to them. Because what you have is, in the reliance of the traveler, let me just quickly pick up my book here in which I've got the notes, is what you have is you can reliance of the traveler, that's a Sharia manual, page 599 under the section justice. If you read along, you have a definition provided from Muslim scholars as to what jihad is and from what texts they actually come to arrive on such conclusions. This is what jihad is. Jihad means to war against non-Muslims and is etymologically derived from the word mujahada, signifying warfare to establish the religion. There is absolutely nothing like that in Christianity. I challenge anyone to bring out this whole idea that Christianity should be established by war against non-believers and etc., etc. I can grant that in the past many people, supposed Christians, have behaved in such, but you can't really judge a religion by its followers, right? Supposed followers. But in Islam, you've got Islam defining Islam, not Muslims talking about Islam. I've got the Sharia manual right in front of me in my cell phone, on my laptop, talking about this issue. And the justifying verses in the Sharia manual are Quran, the Surah chapter 2, verses 216. It says, fighting is prescribed for you. Another one, Surah 489, slay them wherever you find them. Another one, Surah 936, fight the idolaters utterly. This does not sound like it is a peaceful religion. It is even in the smallest way similar to the Christian religion. It is absolutely not. Because what you have is clearly, you see, what I'm doing is I am exposing, or I am talking about Islamic sources and just providing the facts. Whether the hearers, each one of you, would like to accept or mock the religion of Islam, I wouldn't advise doing that. But definitely what you've got is a religion that has the concept of jihad, and jihad in the sense that it is to be forced upon non-believers, regardless of who you are. There is then what you've got is Surah 434, the whole issue of wife beating. We don't have that in the Christian scriptures, to beat our wives. And I know that my Muslim friends will be like, no, that's not this, that not. Classical scholars of Islam all agree unanimously on the issue of jihad, as I just presented, as I actually just read from the Sharia manual, and on the issue of wife beating. So are Christians secret jihadis, as claimed by my Muslim friends? I think that can I say that is a misrepresentation, a misconception, a misrepresentation? I don't even think I can use that word. I think that it is not only a misrepresentation, it is a wild idea to even suggest anything even close to the fact that Christians are instructed within their Christian duty to perform any kind of violence, physical violence against another human being. That is a wild idea. Is that, if I say the same for, can I say the same for Islam? Absolutely not. Rather, it is actually wild to suggest that jihad does not exist within Islam. And many Muslim friends actually claim that. I think that the struggle at that point would be that many of my Muslim friends are unaware of their own religion. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to leave a comment, I'd like to engage, make more suggestions for future videos. My name is Shamoon Khakan, and I hope that you will share this video, like it, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you soon.